faith, the man who will not tell you ease him up when you call him at 6 a.m. in the morning seeking his assistance, your next assemblyman, Brother Carl McQueen. PNM. I see as well several other candidates joining us here this evening in Pembroke. Give them a round of applause. And I see the chairman of the Tobago Council of the PNM, Mr. Larry Paul, here with us this evening as well. PNM. I also want to acknowledge our faithful online audience, the more than 500 persons following us on YouTube and Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in serious times. And I want to spend the next 15 to 20 minutes really explaining to us the dire circumstances that we have found ourselves in as Tobagonians and as citizens of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, before I get into that, I want to, of course, impress upon you the importance to consider your vote carefully, especially in Tobago East. Because I'm hearing the whispers that the Blue Party consider the seats in this part of Tobago to be safe and secure come election day. However, I will be a very troubled man if that was the case. Because if there is to be unsafe seats in this election, it has to be the seats in the most neglected areas of Tobago. Because when we look at the situation in Tobago East, and we can start from Mount St. George, come all the way up to Speyside and Charlottesville, you have the most deplorable roads in the country, not just in Tobago. When we look at all the incomplete and abandoned projects under this administration, all of them are situated in Tobago East. If we start from Bacalet, the indoor sporting complex, we get to Goodwood, the abandoned Goodwood Pavilion. We get to Cow Farm Road in Goldsboro, the abandoned agro-processing factory. We go up to Turpin Bend, that project to realign that was abandoned as well. We get to Charlottesville, the abandoned community facility. And even when we look at the projects that we completed, they are being poorly maintained. I was in Roxborough a couple days ago, and I stood there in amazement as I looked at the Roxborough administrative complex. Imagine the walls are now black, and I'm wondering if it is deliberate because, of course, the lone PDP representative whose color is black represents that district. In addition to that, all the services that we left there when we left office, most of the services in that administrative complex are no longer available to you, the people of Tobago East. And if we evaluate the performance of all 15 assemblymen in the Tobago House of Assembly currently, of course, the assemblyman for Dire Spring Wim will come out on top. But the three worst performing ones are from right up here in Tobago East, starting with the Chief Secretary, followed by the Deputy Chief Secretary, and of course, the one who sold out the people of Roxborough Argyle recently. It is the worst representation to ever be experienced in the history of the Tobago House of Assembly. And I'm saying, if you voted out the PNM for the development that we brought to Tobago East, then you should in fact be voting out the misrepresentation, the abuse, the abandonment, and the neglect brought to you, the people of Tobago East, by this failed administration. And therefore, there is no way that the seats in Tobago East should be safe seats for the TPP. In fact, based on the candidates that we have put in those seats, even as we are introducing Brother Carl McQueen to you tonight, based on the track record of the PNM in Tobago East, and based on our bold vision that we unveiled to you, the people of Tobago, last evening, then the PNM is in with a very good chance of winning all the seats in Tobago East, and I dare say all the seats in this election. So having said that, I want to treat with a very important, critical, and dire matter, because I got a copy of the Guardian newspaper today, Monday the 22nd of December. And while scanning this newspaper, I found myself on page 11, where there is a very important article that I wish every Tobagonian will read. And to make it easier for you to read, I am going to take a picture of it later this evening when I get home, and I will circulate it. In fact, before I do that, I will check online to see if there is a link to this article online. And the title of this column, written by one Curtis Ward, is "A Target on Her Back, TNT in the Crosshairs." And I will show you the headline of this article. But let me tell you who is Curtis Ward. Curtis Ward is the former ambassador of Jamaica to the United Nations, with special responsibility for Security Council affairs. So, Curtis Ward is not a PNM. Curtis Ward is not campaigning for the PNM. Curtis Ward is not even a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. Curtis Ward is simply giving an objective and informed opinion on what is taking place in our country. And of course, I will not read the entire article, but there are some critical parts of it that I want to read for you, the people of Tobago, this evening. Listen to me carefully. But what is the price the country of TNT and the people could pay for short-term undisclosed benefits accruing to the Prime Minister in exchange for the risk to the country's long-term safety and prosperity? The installation of a military radar, not a civilian radar as first represented, at the country's international airport here in Tobago threatens the country's most important infrastructure. The Trinidad and Tobago government made the airport perimeter a military target. It has put TNT's international civilian airport, which is integral to the country's economy, in jeopardy. A target on her back, which has placed TNT, especially Tobago, in the crosshairs. The radar system installed is designed for monitoring aircraft and missiles. Let me say that again. The radar system installed is designed for monitoring aircraft and missiles, not maritime traffic in the Caribbean Sea as originally suggested. It doesn't target narco trafficking by small boats. In addition, the radar is integrated into an automated anti-missile response system to destroy missiles fired from Venezuelan territory. Therefore, the radar is a war asset, and it will be a primary target for Venezuelan missiles and bombers should the Venezuelan military respond to current aggression. Degrading and neutralizing the radar system will be strategic for the Venezuelan military in prosecuting any war with any aggressor. It will be a priority target. Let me say that again. It will be a priority target should the current conflict escalate into military aggression. Persad Bisesa, and let me give her respect. Mrs. Persad Bisesa has placed a military target on the backs of the country and the people. It is a scenario in which more Trinidadian and Tobagonians than American citizens could be killed. Far more damage will be done to TNT's infrastructure and economy than to that of the United States, thousands of miles away. It is concerning that in the Prime Minister's rush to compete for the radar installation on TNT territory, there appears to have been little appreciation of the risks to the country and its people. Her advisors seem oblivious to the implications of her decision. It reflects a lack of global dynamics, lacking knowledge or understanding of the geopolitical and security implications for this country. Or the Prime Minister's decision-making merely reflects blind adherence to the America First foreign policy ideology of the current U.S. administration. Having placed the country and people of Trinidad and Tobago, and let me be more specific, the people of Tobago in the crosshairs of a possible missile response by Venezuela, should the U.S. carry out military strikes against them, the plan must include installation of the Iron Dome on TNT territory as done for Israel, or enhanced protection by U.S. warships deployed and equipped with anti-missile technology. Neither option provides 100% guarantee that no Venezuelan missile will land on TNT soil. And let me pause here to remind you of something. I don't know if you all recall recently, where during some tensions between Israel and Iran, the country of Iran rained missile and bombs on Israel. Israel has one of the best missile defense systems in the world called the Iron Dome. Notwithstanding that, I want to say to you or remind you, the people of Tobago, that some of those missiles successfully bypassed that system and landed on Israeli territory. I just wanted to note that. The situation drifts rapidly towards military conflict. In recent days, the US military announced 3 new strikes, killing 8 people and bringing the total killed close to 100. This followed the seizure of a tanker loaded with Venezuela oil after departing a Venezuelan port. And let me fast forward to the last part that I will read. The stakes for TNT resulting from Prasad Bisesa's complicity increase exponentially with each bellicose declaration from Washington. From merely confirming traditionally friendly relations between the United States and this country on mutual security and economic interests, it has escalated to a military alliance against our neighbors in Venezuela and a collaborator in the policy of what appears to be regime change. Prasad Bisesa has endorsed and is complicit in extrajudicial killings in our Caribbean Sea, described by legal experts as the commission of war crimes. She has abandoned the concept promoted by the country's founding Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams, and subsequent TNT and Caribbean leaders of maintaining the Caribbean as a zone of peace. She obliterated a decades-old regional policy. She has shattered what little unity existed in CARICOM, and she has shown total disrespect for her regional colleagues. And I will stop there. In the face of all of this, our Chief Secretary has remained silent and complicit. And you see, I want to say to you, the people of Tobago, that wherever Trinidad and Tobago was mentioned in that article, it really means Tobago. Because Mrs. Prasad Bisesa and her cabinet sat and made a decision. And in making the decision, they had as options before them Cedros, Mayaro, up in the northern range, Chaguanas, Port of Spain, Piaco Airport, Chagaramas by the existing military base, and even Siparia. And of all the options available across Trinidad, they sat in their cabinet and they made a decision to choose Tobago, Crown Point to be exact, in close proximity to our only international airport on this island, to put their radar. And you must recall that this came without consultation, this came without information, this came without discussion. In fact, it came with pure lies. Because you must recall that many of you Tobagonians were awakened by the loud roar of an engine, a plane engine of the likes you never heard before in your lives. And then we realized that it was a massive military plane. And when the Prime Minister was asked what is going on in Tobago, she said to you that the military of the United States was in Tobago building some kind of road. When she was asked if there was still military personnel in the country of Trinidad and Tobago. She said to you, the people of Tobago, it is her belief that all of them left, when in fact several of them are still here occupying hotels on this island. And of course, your chief secretary, when asked about his position on this matter, he defended the Prime Minister. He even thanked her for the disrespect. Could you imagine that our once bold, rude, and vicious chief secretary, when it was a Tobago-born Prime Minister leading the PNM government, turned suddenly into a little peepsqueak, or what you might want to call a konomono, a momo, or worse than that, a mepeu. All of a sudden, this chief secretary was thanking the Prime Minister for the disrespect. So no information previously, no discussion previously, but of course she sent up Wayne Sturge and the current Attorney General, John Jeremy. And by the way, I returned on the same flight from Trinidad, the same day they came up. I was on the flight. And when I came off the flight, I went straight to the radar site and I stood there and I looked at my phone and I recorded a video and I placed it on Facebook to inform you, the people of Tobago, what was happening. I spoke out on your behalf. And the question has to be asked, what is preventing this chief secretary from speaking for the people of Tobago in current circumstances where the lives and livelihoods of the people of Tobago has been placed under threat? Because you have to be informed as well that it is not just a radar. Because as we have found out recently, and the Prime Minister could call it whatever she wants. Because in the headline here, right, it says, PM confirms military have set up support office for radar. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not a support office. It is a military base. She could call it what she wants. Once you have military equipment and once you have military personnel transiting there, it is in fact a military base. And therefore, we have given up our sovereignty as a country and we have lended ourselves to be exposed to the repercussions of any further military conflict within this region. And finally, I want to tell you, the people of Tobago, that this is a very serious matter. And if you don't believe me, go on YouTube and just type in war. Whether it be Gaza, whether it be Syria, whether it be Libya, Afghanistan, Ukraine, just go and type in war and get an understanding of what happens during a war. And realize and appreciate that we in this country and this region, we are not prepared, we are not cut out for war. And that is why every single other CARICOM leader have been saying that this region is a zone of peace. And let me tell you why. We in this region thrive on tourism. Nobody wants to come to what used to be sea, sun, and sand, and soca, and calypso, and dance, and wine, and drink, and have a good time with the threat of war close by. And that is why recently we have had cruise ship cancellations right here in Tobago. We have had hotels complaining about a high level of cancellations from international guests. And as a result of that, Tobagonians whether taxi drivers, whether tour operators, their livelihoods have been impacted negatively. But of course, the Chief Secretary, when questioned by a reporter, had the audacity to tell us, the people of Tobago, that this situation is not affecting or will not impact our tourism sector negatively. Really? Is he so disconnected? Is he so bought out? Has he so sold out that he's going to watch us, the people of Tobago, in our face and tell us that this development will not impact our tourism sector? And of course, we in this region, we in this country, we on this island cannot feed ourselves, and therefore we rely on importation of food and importation of other materials, other goods and services into this country. And when the region becomes unstable, if there is any military conflict, if God forbid there is any war, then you will catch our royal to get goods to come into our country. And therefore I want you, the people of Tobago, to understand the seriousness and the recklessness of the decisions made by Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar and supported by this reckless, liar Chief Secretary. And I don't know about you, but I am enjoying my life, and I want to continue to enjoy my life, and I want my children to grow in this Tobago as a land of peace and as a land flowing with milk and honey, and enjoy their life like me. PNM. And therefore I'm saying to the 60,000 Tobagonians, now is not the time to sit down and play mook. Because of course, your silence on this matter, and yes, I know people afraid. They're afraid they lose their work. They're afraid they lose some benefit. Some are afraid or they lose all your visa. In fact, a message has been circulating on social media, on WhatsApp, that people supporting certain parties in certain islands in the Caribbean here will lose their visa. Ladies and gentlemen, I can lose my visa, I don't care. But I will ensure that I do not lose my life as a result of the recklessness of Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar and this Chief Secretary. Because I could lose it, but I'm sure I could apply for it again later, only if I am alive. And therefore, you, the people of Tobago, you have a decision to make. Because you may choose to stay silent now, but on January the 12th, you have an opportunity to talk. And the people of Tobago, based on what I know about us, we talk the loudest with our voting finger. And I'm saying, when you go to the polls on January the 12th, it is an opportunity to talk to Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar and talk to this Chief Secretary and say to them that we will not tolerate this disrespect. We will not tolerate you placing the lives of we, the people of Tobago, our children, our grandchildren, and our long-term future in jeopardy over anybody else's foolish interests. And therefore, I'm saying to you that we have a responsibility to ourselves. We have a responsibility to our founding fathers and our foreparents. We have a responsibility to great Tobago fighters like APT James and A.N.R. Robinson and others to ensure that we protect this island from the hands of reckless and ridiculous politicians. So, on January the 12th, there is something for us to vote against. And as the campaign goes on, I will be giving you a lot of things to vote for, because you saw the PNM's vision. You will have the opportunity to read it. You will have the opportunity to critique it. You will have the opportunity to sell it. And I'm saying to you, it is a bold, new, practical vision, and therefore you have something to vote for. But I'm also saying to you that in this election, there is a critical matter that you must vote against. And I'm saying to you, on January the 12th, we must send a powerful signal to the UNC, to the TPP, to the Prime Minister, and to this Chief Secretary, that they must take their radar and go. They can put it in Siparia, they can put it in Chaguanas, they can put it in Oropouche, but make no mistake, we do not want it here in Tobago. And only when you do that on January the 12th, we will all be able to say that we have saved Tobago, and great is our island, and great is our people, great is our God, great is the PNM, and we have prevailed.